Ukrainian forces captured 2 Russian soldiers in Pokrovsk. They said in their video messages that they were alive. One of them says, "My friend and I found ourselves in a very difficult situation. There were only 2 of us left in the group. We contacted the commander and asked for permission to retreat. He refused and threatened to zero us himself. We decided to turn off the radio, throw away our weapons and try to surrender. We are alive. We have no other choice but to surrender." The other video talks about Russian soldiers who were captured willingly. Here they say that they were captured voluntarily.
Ось чергове поповнення в обмінний фонд. Откуда вы все? Все с 5-й, да?
Да, 5-я.
Как в плен попали?
Были на позиции, нас начали штурмовать.
На какой позиции, где?
Малиновки вроде. Нас начали штурмовать, мы приняли решение сами сдаться.
Все самостоятельно сдались в плен добровольно?
Да, сами добровольно сдали. Добровольно.
Молодцы. Это было правильное решение, будете жить. Заодно трофейчиков там подогнали. Передавайте привет нашим пацанам 79-ки, которые сохранили вам жизнь.
Спасибо большое, 79-ки, ребята, что сохранили жизнь нам.
Как зовут тебя?
Коля.
Коля, какое подразделение?
5-я.
В 5-ке, как попал в плен?
Наши позиции на Малиновке штурмовали.
Знаешь, кто штурмовал?
Не знаю.
79-ка штурмовала тебя. Передавай привет 79-ка.
Спасибо 79-й, что не убили, взяли в плен, накормили, воды дали попить.
Поел уже, накормили тебя?
Да, спасибо большое.
Видишь, тот момент, когда ваши командиры отправляют вас на убой, ваши враги, украинцы, накормили, напоили тебя, сигаретку дали.
Спасибо большое.
A Russian woman filmed how seriously wounded Russian occupiers are sent back to the combat zone. Soldiers from the 104th Airborne Assault Regiment, many of whom cannot walk normally and are on crutches, are being forcibly returned to the front. My heart sinks. Our guys are being sent back to the Special Military Operations Zone by order of the commander of the 104th Airborne Assault Regiment, Alexei Tolmachev. Many have not yet recovered from their wounds. Some are still on crutches. Some with a bandaged arm. How painful it is to see them leaving without having time to recover, said the Russian woman who filmed the events. This video confirms that the practice known as crippled regiments is gaining momentum in the Russian armed forces. Russian command is increasingly returning soldiers with disabilities who have not completed their treatment to the front. Their chances of surviving in combat are minimal. But the Kremlin, which is experiencing an acute shortage of manpower, continues to resort to this brutal measure. The 104th Airborne Assault Regiment is part of the 76th Airborne Division of the Russian Federation, known for its crimes against Ukraine. Since 2014, the regiment has participated in aggression, in particular in the seizure of Ukrainian drilling rigs in the Black Sea and in the occupation of Donbass. In 2022, the regiment took part in the offensive on Kiev. It suffered catastrophic losses, including the loss of at least 4 battalion commanders. Earlier, media reported that a video of occupiers being sent to storm the city on crutches had appeared on the internet. A Russian man filmed how undertreated Russian soldiers on crutches under military police escort were forcibly shoved into a truck to be sent to the front. The man does not hide his indignation. "This is complete. Look how the guys are leaving for war, who shouldn't be going. The VPs are just pushing them into a Kamaz. A man with crutches. They're breaking him. It's just unbearable," he says off camera. It is known that the video shows soldiers from the 503rd Motorized Rifle Regiment of the Armed Forces of the Russian Federation. This unit is stationed in Ingushetia. However, according to the Russian opposition publication Media Zona, the video was filmed at the Russian military training ground Kadamovsky in the Rostov region. It is located approximately 50 kilometers from the border with the occupied Luhansk region. New details continue to emerge in Russia about the large-scale disaster at the Elastic gunpowder plant in the Ryazan region. The explosion occurred on August the 15th, but the consequences are still the subject of secrecy and manipulation. The Russian telegram channel VCHK-OGPU, which is associated with the Russian Special Services, has revealed new details about this explosion. According to him, the shock wave destroyed not only the production buildings but also the underground warehouses of the enterprise. At a depth of several floors, there were storage facilities with ammunition, equipment, and even workers. All of this was blown up. The channel's sources claim that people are still under the rubble and that employees and rescuers from neighboring regions, including Moscow, were brought in to clear the debris. They were strictly ordered not to disclose information despite the mortal danger at the site. One of the eyewitnesses said that a mixture of debris and the remains of plant workers lay under the rescuers' feet. According to official data from the Ministry of Emergency Situations, as of today, 26 people were killed in the explosion and another 154 were injured. However, the interlocutors of the VCHK-OGPU assure that the real losses are much higher. The authorities, according to them, are deliberately understating the figures and putting pressure on the relatives of those who were still listed as missing. Particularly dramatic were the stories of workers who, after the explosion, ran into the forest in panic, escaping from the fire and collapses. Some of them were discovered only on the second day. The scale of destruction is colossal. 4 buildings were completely destroyed, including an ammunition depot and several production workshops. At least 7 more objects were damaged. The explosion destroyed about 300 tons of gunpowder intended for artillery shells, as well as about 600 ready-made 152mm ammunition. The fire and explosion at Elastica show how vulnerable critical elements of the Russian defense industry are. The destruction of the ammunition depot and production facilities deprives the Russian army of the resources to launch artillery strikes on Ukraine and slows the delivery of new ammunition to the front. Incidents like these are another example of how the Ukrainians can estimate the enemy's losses and hope to weaken its offensive capabilities.